Hello and welcome to our first demo. Hopefully y'all can hear me okay. Forgot how it feels to do one of these things. It's been a minute. But anyways, today we're going to start off with our first demo. Things we need to do before we go and get demoing is we need to go download those two JPEGs that says Demo 1 Image 1 and Demo 1 Image 2. We need to download those real quick. We're going to be using those. And we need to get ready to work in Illustrator. So we're going to pull up Adobe Illustrator. The little icon might be at the bottom, AI. You might have to go find it, which you can always go to Launchpad and go over and find where it's at. You can always type it in at the top, Illustrator. But it looks like this. I'm working in 2022. Hopefully you're working in 2022. If we're working in different versions, God help us. It might get a little confusing. Hopefully we got the same updates. So I got a few files kind of ready to go. Kind of set this up like a cooking show. But once we got Adobe Illustrator up, we downloaded those two images, we should be ready to roll. Okay, so we're in Adobe. And the first thing before we do anything is maybe we might need to set up our workspace. Because depending on who used the computer last, your workspace might be all over the place. It might be a complete and utter mess, a disaster. So just so we're all on the same page, we're working with the same setup, we're going to set the workspace. So let's go and do that. We're going to go to the tab that says Windows up at the top. So we're going to go Windows. We're going to go down to Workspace. And for today, we're just going to work in Essentials Classic. So click on Essentials Classic or go Reset Essentials Classic. And it should go back to something like this. Now you can make your own workspace down the road. You can save presets. When I work in Photoshop, I have my own presets set up. But for today, just so we're all working with the same thing, hopefully we got a workspace that looks like this. So we'll do a little walkthrough real quick. Up at the top, we got this bar. As I'm selecting different tools, that's going to stay the same. So we got different tools. On the left, for the most part, the top's going to stay the same. But as you can see, properties over there on the far right is going to change. So we got properties, we got libraries. We're probably not going to use those too terribly much, library, but properties we will. And then over here on the right, we also got a few other tabs for adjustments like color, some more color stuff in swatches, brushes. We're going to be using strokes eventually today. And then we're going to be dealing with some stuff like layers and artboards here in just a minute. So we got our layout like this. We have our main tools over here. The top doesn't change too terribly much. This will change depending on what tool we have selected. So let's go and start our project. So we're going to go File, New, and we're going to need to make our piece of paper that we're going to work in, kind of our workspace. So I already got it set up, but I'll kind of walk you through it. So what we need to first do is make sure we're working in inches. This is a big issue that some people have. They start working, they think they got the size right, but they're actually working in pixels instead of inches. And 8 pixels and 8 inches is drastically different in size. So today we're going to work in inches. Like I said before, we can work with points and picas. We can work in millimeters. There's all these different units of measurement that you can design in, but just for the sake of keeping things simple, let's go inches. So we need to make the height of our document 8 inches wide and 10 inches high. Now when you go to make your designs later on, your own designs, they can be 10 by 8 or 8 by 10. That's up to you. We're going to have 8 by 10, and we're going to have 2 artboards. So 2 pieces of paper to work in. Other things real quick. We have bleeds, which we'll talk about more down the road, but these all need to be on 0. Then we have our color mode. We want to make sure that we're in CMYK, which is needed for printing. The other one, RGB, is dealing more with light. It's dealing with screens, the color for screens. We want it to be for printing. And let's make sure our raster effects is at 300, which this will make a little bit more sense down the road as well. But as long as we got 8 wide, 10 tall, and a 2 there for artboards, we should be fine to hit create, and we can start working. So as we can see, I got 2 pieces of paper here. These are my 2 artboards. Think about them on this giant wall you can see as I zoom out. So we got these 2 artboards. I can add more, I could subtract more. We could have artboards in different sizes. Maybe one's the size of a large scale poster, one's the size of the business card. We can have different size artboards out there, but they're all in this one document. So if we're doing a branding suite, we could work in separate artboards, but within one document. So while we're talking about artboards, let's go and go find out where we can adjust artboards at. So if we go to this column over here on the right, where we got the little color at the top, little painting easel palette thing at the top, we go down, down, down. Almost at the very bottom, there's these 2 rectangles, and that's the artboard button. So click on that, and we can notice that we have 2 artboards here. I click on artboard 1, double click on that, I zoom right to it. Double click on artboard number 2, I zoom right to that one. So this is kind of handy if you got 50 artboards to navigate around your workspace very quickly. You can also make additional artboards just by hitting the plus button. You can change the size, but we're not going to get into that right now. So I can go make a bunch. I'm going to zoom out. So we got a bunch there, and I could also just go and delete them too by dragging them to the trash can. So we can make artboards, we could subtract artboards. A little thing that might be helpful, this might be another thing to kind of write down in your notes, and you should be taking notes as we're going along, because 1, you need 20 pages of notes, and 2, so when you're working outside of class, you don't have to refer to this video, you can just go look at your notes for hotkeys and stuff. So if you want to go zoom in or out, it's pretty easy to do. Here's the hotkeys just to save yourself time. You're going to hold down Command, and you're going to hit the minus sign to zoom out, the plus sign to zoom in. Command minus zooms out, Command plus zooms in, and Command 0 makes it full screen. Okay, so we know how to zoom, we know how to make another piece of paper. Really learning important stuff. Let's go, and we're going to bring those images that we downloaded, we're going to bring them into Illustrator. So how we're going to do that is we're going to go and click on File. We're going to go File, Place, and we're going to take our first image and we're going to go place it onto our first artboard. Maybe we'll try to center it up. So we got that first one in there. And one thing that we definitely need to do before we do anything else is we need to always, once we place an image, well, not always, but in this case, in this class, you're probably going to always do this. Go click this button at the top of the screen that says Embed. So we're going to embed that image into this document. Now what that means is before the image was linked. So it was linked to a file somewhere on my computer. So now that I've embedded it, it's going to save this image into this document. Think about it like that. So if I would do a little work on this, go and want to send it to a client, but it was not embedded. This image was not embedded. It was only linked. When my client would go and open it up, they wouldn't see anything because the linked image is somewhere on my computer. It's not on their computer. Now, if they had it and it was in the same folder and set up the same way, they might be able to see it. But if you embed it, it's going to be saved in there, and you should be good to go. Now, linking can be really important if you're working like on a team in a design firm. Maybe you have like one image, like a logo, and you have it linked to all of your different documents. So if you have to change the color, you change the main one, and that changes it to everything else. Okay, so now that I got that first one in there, it's embedded. Let's go jump to our second artboard by going and double clicking on that artboard. So right there. And let's go and do the same thing. We're gonna go File, Place. We're gonna go place that other image in that artboard. So if you need to in both these, you can go and move them around by using just your standard mouse tool over here. Remember to embed stuff so it stays in there. So we should have both our images in there. We should be good to go like that. We got one more step, and then we're going to start going and doing a little digital drawing. So we got our two images. We got some simple shapes on the right. We got this sketch that I did in a few minutes and scanned in and blew up in the left. Or I don't know my left and rights. The opposite of that. Vector images on the left, sketch on the right. Anyways, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go and click on layers. So that's right above our artboard. We have these two pieces of paper that look stacked on top of one another. Let's click on our layers. So we can see we have layer 1. And layers in Photoshop or layers in Illustrator, they're similar, but they're quite different at the same time. So layer 1 isn't just one layer, it's kind of like a folder with two sublayers in it. So we got those two images there. So if I go click that little down arrow, you can open up that folder. You can see those sublayers. We got a little eyeball to the left. If I click on one of those, they become invisible for a second, or for as long as you want them to be. So what we're going to do for our layer 1, we're going to say this is our, we're going to double click on the word layer 1, and we're going to say it's our scan layer. So we got our scans. I'm going to go change that. We're going to have a nice kind of organized setup for layers here. I like to have several different kind of folders of layers so I have everything nice and organized so it's easy to edit or fix things down the road. So we got our scan layer, and we're going to go right beside that eyeball. There's this little blank spot. If you click in there, there's a lock, and I'll lock it down our layers. So we shouldn't be able to go and edit stuff anymore. It's locked down for right now, so while it's locked, I can't make edits, which is nice because then I don't have to worry about moving stuff or deleting something. And we're going to make another layer by hitting the Create New Layer button. It's that little square with a plus sign. And we're going to create a second layer right above that called Layer 2. And for the sake of keeping things nice and orderly, let's go double click on that, and we'll change this one to our digital drawing layer. Okay. You can pick the colors of layers. It's not going to affect stuff when it prints out. Just when we're working with points and paths, you'll notice that when I'm working in the digital drawing layer, my points and paths are going to first look like they're red. If I was working in my scan layer, they'd be blue. If I was working layer 3, they're going to be green, so on and so forth. Okay. So let's go down to our first layer. We'll start to get working. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to learn some basic skills at the pen tool, and then we're going to move on to that sketch that I did in a few minutes. We're going to be using the pen tool to go and clean that up and illustrate it from there. So let's go over some of the tools we'll be using today. So the first one I think everybody kind of knows is the selection tool, and the hotkey for that is V. So So it's used to select a whole object. I've already kind of did that. Sorry if you didn't know that that's what it did. I kind of assumed you knew how to use a mouse. But anyways, right beside that to the right is the direct selection tool, which is a little bit different. You can select certain points of a shape and move and adjust those. And the hotkey for that is A. Now it might be important to write down these hotkeys or remember them so you can save yourself time when you're working. So V is going to move the whole shape. A is going to move a part of that shape. The tool that we're going to use a lot today is the pen tool. And the hotkey is P. So I'm going to draw over here. I'll show you how the pen tool will work. So when I click once, the pen tool is going to make a point. I just have to click once and it does that. And then as I move my hand around, it wants to start to make a path. And when I click again, it makes a second point. I can click again. Every time I click, it's going to make another point. And then I need to go all the way to the back, that first point. And you see when I get close to it, this little circle pops up, because that means I've closed my path. I've closed off this section, and now I have made a shape. So we start at the first point, we go click, click, click around, and we make a shape. Okay. So we always need to close that path if we're making shapes. If we're making lines, they're a little bit different. So we're going to go and start to trace some of these shapes, and I'll show you how to do that here in a sec. But I'm working in all black, and that's going to be kind of hard to see if I'm drawing over top of things that are black. So let's go do this. Let's go adjust our colors of what we're working in. So I'm going to make a shape. If I was to say print this shape right now, it would be black. So let's go and change it. So I'm working inside of the artboard. It's going to print. If I'm working outside the artboard, we're not going to see it when we save it. But we're just doing this right now just so we kind of know what we're working with. So we have these two little drop downs up here. You can see that they look very similar to the things going on over here. And then there's another one going on over here. So we have the inside of that shape can be a color. We call that the fill. So I could fill it red. I could fill it a lot of different colors. There's a lot more colors you can get than just what you see in these swatches. Let's go this little one that has a red cross through it. So that's invisible. And let's go to what's called the stroke, which is going to be the line that path is, the line on the outside of the shape, and go and pick your favorite color, or the closest you can get to it with the swatches going on up here. I'm going to pick a basic green. So now if I pull this back over here, we can see that I'm working with a green. Okay. So hopefully it's known that if I go, I hold down shift, I can resize stuff by clicking on one of those corners. If I don't hold down shift, it can get all wonky, but I can go make things bigger or smaller by clicking on one of those corners. Holding down shift keeps it in perspective. I can turn. If you get close to a corner, this little rotate button pops up. You can turn pretty easily. And we don't need this shape right now, so if I go and I click on it, I can delete it. So delete that shape, and we're going to start tracing what we got right here. So let's go, and we'll go zoom in on this triangle by hitting Command, holding that down, and hitting plus. So go find that triangle. You can always use the little scroll things at the top and bottom. And we're going to go and draw the shape out. So go grab our pen tool. Remember the hotkey is P. And we're going to go and start to draw this shape. So we're going to click once at the top corner, the next corner, the third corner, and then we got to bring it all the way back home to close that shape. So we did that one. I'm going to hit V. You can see it looks pretty good. It's kind of hard to see that green on that black, so maybe I'm going to go a nice kind of bright pink. So that one should be pretty easy to do. Let's jump to our next shape. So doing straight shapes, geometric shapes is pretty easy with this. I have what's called smart guides on, so you can sometimes see these little pink lines that's popping up that's doing measurements. You may or may not have that on there. Don't worry about it right now. If you do, it can be very helpful when you're lining up stuff. But we're going to start on this next shape. So click on that one, and let's go to that next corner. And then let's go to that third corner, and then we're going to do this curve. Right? Because it's hard to make a curve with straight lines. I'm going to show you how this works. So let's go. And we're going to bring it all the way back to the beginning. And we're going to click and we're going to hold down. And I might have to come over and show you how to do this on the mouse. But we're going to keep our finger pressed down on the mouse key, on that right key. And we're going to pull. And as I pull, this new handle pops up that we haven't seen before. It's kind of a secret until you know about it. And as I pull in a certain direction, we're going to go and see that I can make that curve. So try that out. If you don't get it right the first time, don't worry. It's going to have a kind of a steep learning curve. Sorry, that was not supposed to be a pun, but it is kind of a pain to understand how to do curves. But it's like the most important thing to probably learn in this program. And once you start to get it, you get a lot quicker at it. But you can make adjustments. You don't have to get it right the first time. So say I made my curve and it didn't turn out so hot. You know, I was struggling with it a little bit. This is where we can go, instead of using the selection tool, we use the one right beside it that has the hotkey of A, and we can go click on that handle again, and we can go clean up the curve. Okay? So let's go, now that we did that, I'm going to go switch my color. We're going to go down to this red shape. Maybe I'll switch to blue. And we're going to go draw this red shape. So we're going to get our pen tool by hitting the hotkey of P. And we're going to go start working on this one, which is a little bit trickier. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to go click on one of those corners. I'm going to do this far top right one. We're going to start that curve by clicking, holding and dragging, and we can start to get that shape. If you don't get it perfect the first time, we can always edit it later. And now we have this new problem. I want to go continue to this straight section here, but because we're working with vectors, it's wanting to make the math so it makes a nice smooth curve. That's causing issues because I want it to be straight, right? So the easy way to kind of fix this, to remedy this, is we're going to hold down the hotkey of Option. It's right by Command. You see when I hold down Option, I get this little angle sign that pops up. There's other ways of doing this, but it's going to take you a lot more time. So learn this hotkey Option. We're going to go click on our handle, and we're going to go bring it down. So now I should be able to make a straight line like that. Let's go move over just a little bit. Let's go click on that next corner. We'll try to get it as best we can. So we got that next curve, and then hold down Option again, and go grab that handle and bring it up to the top. So sometimes you're going to mess up like I was just doing here. I probably should have told you all about this before, but I kind of assume all of you all who grew up on computers know this. If you do mess up, easy way to fix stuff is Command Z. So Command Z, every time you hit Command Z, it'll take you back one time in the history of what you're working on. So we got our shape here. If we need to, we can go take that direct select again, click on the certain section that we want to go edit, and start to move those lines around a little bit. Okay, so the next I guess mini boss that we have to deal with is this cat right here. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to start working on this cat. Kind of zoom in a little bit, find a spot. It's got lots of curves. Do your best. You can pause this video, and then once you get to a spot when you're done with this cat and it's time to like maybe go fine tune some stuff, clean it up, go and hit play again, and I'll give you some more pointers. Okay, so we got this cat that we've been working on. I jumped to another document. I already traced it. It's looking pretty close, but there's a little issues. Maybe there's some anchor points that are a little stubborn. So we got these anchor points. Maybe we don't like them. We can always go move them. We can adjust them a little bit. Maybe we see some points that are really stubborn, that they could be maybe smoothed out more. Like on the butt of this cat, we can see there's 2 points going on right here that they're really stubborn. They're sticking out. We can tell that it's not a nice clean drawing. There's a really easy way to go and adjust those. So click on the point with the direct select tool that's giving you a lot of trouble. So this one is giving me a lot of trouble. I click on that. That one's selected. And then we're going to go and get the smooth tool. So the smooth tool is a little trickier to find. It is, you see there's a T, there's the shape for making shapes. Then there's this shaper tool. If we hold down there, there's a bunch of other tools like the smooth tool. So we grab that smooth tool and we can smooth out the section that we went and select it. So we make sure that we have it. We get that smooth tool, select it with the direct select and hit that smooth tool. We can go, we should be able to smooth it out a little bit. So as you draw over, it's going to start to smooth things out. So if you have a stubborn anchored point, you could always do that. Sometimes it takes a few times to smooth it out to get it how you like it. But as you can see, I'm starting to get it a little bit smoother. Now if you're having trouble finding that smooth tool, if you're having trouble finding anything, there's a little search tool up top. You could always go click on the search tool, try to look up the tool that you're looking for, and it should bring that tool to you. So that smooth tool is really nice. I use it a lot. I'll kind of rough out a drawing. See there's like a point right here on this tail that I don't kind of like, so I'm going to click on that. Now I take my smooth tool, draw around it, and it should start to smooth stuff out. And just remember, hopefully this is all making sense, the direct select is going to select one pixel or 1 point at a time. The selection tool will select our whole cat. Okay, so take a few minutes, go and clean this up a little bit. Use that direct select, use the smooth tool, try to get it looking nice and sharp. Maybe you can make this cat look more proportional. And then once we do that, we'll go on to the next thing. So next thing we're going to do is this Nike swoosh that I did. It looks kind of like a crude knockoff version of it, but I did it in a few seconds, so we'll go with that. So we got our Nike swoosh. We're going to try to mimic that. We're going to first grab our pen tool, like we've been using, and we're going to use this little J shape that I made. We're going to draw that first. We're not going to do it around the outside. We're actually going to draw this first, and then we're going to go and adjust the stroke so it has that shape. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to go click at that last part of the swoosh, and I'm going to go pull, 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 pull. And I should be able to do it just like that. And maybe we'll go and move this over to the side, or not, it's kind of up to you. So we got our swoosh. It looks very straight, it's kind of boring. We could go and make it thicker by making that stroke a couple points thicker, but that's not going to help out the cause. What we're going to do is we're going to go change the width, the line width of this, so it's not all uniform. As you see right beside it, it has uniform. There are different types of line strokes that we could do. That one looks pretty close, but I'm going to show you a cool way of doing this without using some of these cheesy presets, because this is what everybody does. They're basic. So let's go back to uniform. Let's go back down to being 1 point. Okay, so we got our shape here. And what we're going to do is we're now going to be using the width tool. So the width tool, as you can see, as you highlight over it, is we can change the width of a line. So we can get a nice, smooth, changing line weight. It's really handy to use. It's going to be pretty helpful probably when you're making your t-shirt designs. So click on that tool, and we're going to go and we can start to figure out what the width of this thing's going to be. So it's making these new points that I can go and adjust. I can click on the shape, and I can add another point. I can pull out and it'll get wider. I can go in and it'll get tighter. Pulling out goes wider, pulling in goes tighter. So try your best to kind of mimic that Nike swoosh. So looking decent, but not the best. I could always take my smooth tool, smooth out a few sections too. That might help out a hair bit. You can always go have that shape or that width defining tool. Add a new spot in, kind of bend it to how I want it. But we should have it pretty close. And that tool is just below the smooth tool. Just one or two below it, depending on what version of Adobe you got. Next up, so we can make a nice little pointy section here and call me over, if you're needing help with stuff. Our next one, we're going to make this thing that's a little bit more tapered, because maybe we don't want to point. So we're going to make a nice straight-ish line, little curve to it. And then we're going to go and take our width tool again. And we're going to give another point. And we're going to go and open that up just a little bit. Maybe want to go make it a little thicker, one spot or another. But you're going to notice that it's really good at tapering stuff, but it makes this flat edge here. You can bring it down to a point, but what happens if you don't want that flat edge? So this is a pretty easy remedy to do. Is we're going to go over here onto the right hand side. We have our palette, we have our colors guide, we got swatches, we got brushes, but go down to where it says stroke. There should be a button that's got 3 lines that says stroke. We should be able to see some different options. And if it won't show you your options for stroke, if all you have is 1 point, then hold down these 3 little lines. I'll pull up show options, and we can go change the cap. So let's go change the cap of this thing to a circle. So we'll click on the part that we want to change, click that cap to a circle, and voila, we got some weird elongated teardrop thing going on. As we change, it's going to stay somewhere in proportion. Okay. Now, other things to kind of note, we've been changing stuff, we've been adding to it. We can always go and continue to edit with that selection tool. We could even add another point. There's a point adding tool. So I can go add a point, change stuff from there. If I don't like a point, I can switch back to the deletion anchor point tool. It delete it. That can be helpful. I don't use them terribly a lot because I'm mostly getting it right the first time when I'm using the pen tool. Okay, so we have gone over how to use the basics of the pen tool, how to make curves, how to do curves and go to straight lines. We talked about the smooth tool and adjusting anchor points with the direct selection. We talked about using the width tool to kind of make things be more tapered, to have more line weight. You know, think about all the opportunities you could use with that to create cross hatching or just hatching. So once we got that going, let's go over to artboard number 2. Once we're at artboard number 2, what we're going to do is we're going to use predominantly the pen tool, and we're going to go with our pen tool, and we're going to go and try to draw this guy out. So I did a sketch, kind of did this kind of great value Barry McGee looking character going on here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to take our sketch, we're going to use that as kind of our guide, and then we're going to go and start to use the pen tool and kind of edit up just like how we would normally do if we wanted to make a nice looking vector graphic image. And we're going to go and start to draw it out with the pen tool, smoothing it out. Then we're going to go use that width tool, not like I'm doing here. Zoom in, but we're going to go give it some nice kind of width to stuff. If it'll let me. And as we're going through this guy, we're going to go try to draw him out, clean him up, and go from there. So take a few minutes. I'm going to work on this. You kind of zoom in so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better, I think. And we're going to be going and cleaning up and working from there. So we're going to try to make this look nice, cleaned up. We're going to really work on trying to make the craft good and solid. It's going to be kind of a practice version of what we would do when we're doing our own shapes, our own t-shirt design. So if you want to not have me kind of muttering in the background over here, you can hit pause on me and go draw this out, give it some nice line weight, clean it up, and then once we do that, we can go from there. And I'll give you some more stuff. So hit pause. We won't be leaving. I'm going to be giving some more instructions about saving. Okay, so hopefully you got more done than what I did. You know, call me over, have me look at it. So once we get that kind of done, where we got more than what I have in the face, we've kind of used the width tools, we've used the pen tools, we're getting this nice kind of very clean looking graphic that could be for a shirt. What we're going to do next is we're going to get things ready to save. So we got everything going, and let's go do this. So we're going to go back to our layers, and let's go to our scans layer. Let's go click on that eyeball so we can just see the work that we did. As you can see, I needed to do more. If I turn this in, it would not be a good grade. Missing the cat, missing the face over here, but let's go make that scan layer invisible so we're not seeing my rough sketch. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get this ready to save. So I would recommend in Illustrator to save kind of often, just in case the computer crashes, the power goes out, I don't know, you mess something up, things like that happen. Save often, but let's talk about saving. So to save, we're going to go File, save as, and there's two different types of file types that we're going to be dealing with for this project. So when you go to save, do not save onto the cloud. Save onto your flash drive. So we have our flash drive. If you haven't yet, please plug it in. And we're going to go and save onto the computer. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go save our demo. And please name your demo. So put your first name, last name. And then demo 1. We're going to save this first one as an Illustrator file, a .ai file. So you can see down here, we got a .ai file. And remember, like I said in the lecture, .ai file, we can still edit. Okay, so I might save that for right now. We got this set up. That's all looking good. It should be okay for you. You'll hit OK. So we can still edit this, like if I go and I make adjustments. Should be easy to go and to save again, or I could do the hotkey Command S and it'll save it again. So this file I can still edit because it's an AI file. As you see up top, now the file is changed to Nathan_Petrikowski_demo1.ai. Now if I want to go send it to the printers usually can't read Illustrator files. Also, Illustrator files are huge. So we're going to go and we're going to save it. Save as. Save it onto our flash drive. And we're going to save it this time as a PDF. So that's what we're going to need to do when we go turn it in onto Canvas. So save it as a PDF. So click on PDF. And we're going to hit save. Now this window is going to pop up. I'm going to kind of look through here. Things are looking good on my end. The presets might be changed on yours, but usually things are good. As long as it's saying Illustrator default at the top, we should be fine. And we're going to hit save. We'll get more into the weeds about what some of those tabs are when we're doing stuff for more technical printing. But once you save those as a PDF, we should be able to go and upload them. Don't upload the Illustrator files because I won't be able to see those on Canvas. Please upload the PDFs. And when you're working, make sure to be saving often when you're doing your larger projects. Okay, folks, so hopefully you've been taking some good notes. Ask me questions in person, and I will talk to you guys on the interwebs again very soon. Bye.